League of Legends is one of the hardest games to truly master. A big part of this is due to the fact that we never really know if we're making the right decision or not. In other games, there might just be a clear-cut best move. For example, in chess, you can just load up the best engine in the current day, and 100% of the time it will give you the move that can beat the best player in the world. But for League, we don't have that. We don't have a computer that can tell us the best move, and we can dump thousands and thousands of hours into the game to try and remedy that, but we'll still just not know. With its seemingly endless amount of knowledge to be learned, League is often viewed as this massive bar that you just have to keep filling up with skills in order to master the game. After you fill up on so many skills, you can get to a certain rank. You might need 60% of it to be full before you're platinum, and if you get 70%, you're diamond, and so on. But actually, this is not true at all. The skills you need to master to rank up are not evenly weighted. In fact, the game should really be thought of more like a pyramid. What separates the best of the best from the rest is really only a few tiny things. The difference between Challenger and Diamond is a ton of super niche stuff at the top that you really don't get a lot of space in your pyramid for mastering. So we could spend a lot of time talking about insanely specific situations to explain concepts that none of us are really ever going to need, or we can just give you the 90% of the pyramid that will get you to Diamond. It's way more efficient to focus on the stuff at the bottom since it goes a much longer way when it comes to getting you to where you need to go. And this is the exact philosophy behind our hyper improvement platform at skillcap.com. We cut through the BS and teach you what actually works in solo queue. Why waste your time grinding thousands of ranked games only to learn what we could teach you in minutes? In fact, we're so confident you'll get results that we guarantee you'll climb 5 divisions while actively using our service, or you get your money back. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted and click the link in the description below. Now, back to the guide. To start, we're going to go over the concept that makes up one of the largest parts of the pyramid, using an example from a student that I was coaching this week. His team is currently around 2,000 gold up and winning pretty handily, so it comes as a shock when he makes the absolutely game-losing mistake of doing his Krugs. Okay, don't get me wrong, Krugs aren't always a bad thing. It just happens to be really bad here. But why? One of the golden rules of jungle is that your laner's lane states matter way more than anything else in the game. If your laners are winning, all of your plays get easier. They can rotate to help you take camps and neutral objectives. They can protect your camps from invades, they can help you with your invades. I think you get where I'm going with this. Having winning laners just makes your life as jungler way easier in every way, so it's a massive priority. In this game, at the moment Kha'Zix decided to do Krugs, the enemy top laner was shoving in a huge stacked up wave into top tower. Not only do 3 waves of minions die to this tower now, 2 plates in the full tower are given to Mundo. If we just look at how much gold Mundo gained during this time, he went from 3,000 to 4,200 gold. A 1,200 gold swing, or 4 kills worth. In a game where most other players have around 2,000 gold, this is absolutely game breaking, and his laners are all completely useless in comparison to this Mundo now. Kha'Zix could have prevented it all just by sitting under the tower, and gotten the insane value of lane XP and gold that would otherwise be completely out of reach normally. It would easily be a full level and 400 gold's worth of minions that just can't be generated from farming jungle camps. This value is so insane that laners dying early on in the game really isn't even a bad thing most of the time, and in a recent challenge we did, you can hear me tell another one of our challenger players, Hector, that he's not allowed to farm his dead laner's wave. Just listen to his disgust.
No.
You're not allowed to take the wave. You can't take the wave.
What?
Just watch it die, man.
Well, I was actually so happy she died.
That disgust is definitely for good reason, as these freestanding resources can be enough to win a game a lot of times. Players tend to assume that they're supposed to be jungling if they're the jungler, but I take a ton of waves in every game I play. Laners will not always be there to collect every wave, and oftentimes will have quite bad lane states that need to be fixed. In fact, listen into this commentary that I recently recorded. This is Crash here. This is the whole reason for this gank in the first place. Let's just get this wave in. Basically, I can look at this wave state earlier and recognize that Sejuani is going to have a very hard time crashing this wave on her own to get a reset. If she doesn't, Gwen will push in, and Sej will miss XP and gold under the tower. I could just come and collect the farm at that point, but then my Sejuani will fall behind, even though I get ahead. This definitely wouldn't bode well for all of my future invades or other things, since I would have a very weak laner as a support. In the vast majority of situations, it's actually optimal for junglers to share experience and just help fix waves. You get extra total XP when you split minions between more than one champion, so you're creating experience out of nowhere, and in a lot of cases, you get more than just the wave as a reward. Although I would be completely happy here without any kills and still consider it a successful gank. In some games, it's even correct to just take over the job of laning from your laner altogether in order to get a lead. Like in this Diana clip, I get over 1,000 gold from just pushing a wave and smacking the top tower, much to my top laner's dismay. No matter how much he wants to argue that it's a bad play, he either gets 3 caster minions or I get 1,000 gold, and yeah, it's not hard to see how it's correct to just push here. What I'm getting at is that jungling duties do not end where laning duties begin. Often there are just responsibilities that a team needs you to fulfill, and if you're in the area, you should do it, regardless of what role you picked at champion select. Yes, this does mean that even supports will farm waves sometimes. Laners suck, and because of that, you are going to have a lot of chances to take their resources. Now that we've filled out a big chunk of the pyramid, let's move on to the next part. Jungling is a constant battle of opportunity cost. If you gank or make any play on the map, you're usually giving up the ability to get gold and experience from your camps, and that's a decision that shouldn't be taken lightly. When asked if Olaf is a full clear champion, most people would probably say yes. And if I asked if Zac is also a full clear champion, most would also probably answer yes, especially if you're up against something aggressive like Lee Sin. However, let me show you a clip from a commentary that I recorded in this exact matchup. My red gets invaded in this game, so I start by taking my opponent's raptors and their red. And from here, I just want to get back to my jungle to start farming up to outscale Lee. When I do retreat, we see Lee Sin show on a ward, and I ping my mid laner to hopefully survive the gank. Unfortunately, he doesn't listen and ends up almost getting blown up instantly. At this point, would you look for a counter gank mid? If you said no, great, because I definitely wouldn't either. I don't even have E yet, and my mid laner is like 2 HP. There's no way this is good. Well, until now. In just an instant, this went from a never gank situation to an always gank situation. But why? We watched Lee Sin use some very important abilities: Q, E, and Flash. Most importantly, this lets me know that he doesn't have access to W yet, which means absolutely no dashes pinched in between me and my mid laner. So I don't care that I'm playing a quote-unquote full clear champ, or that I'm a Zac without E into a Lee Sin. I have everything I need in order to make this gank work basically 100% of the time once I see him commit his flash. Ganks are extremely conditional, and early game, that condition mostly is how guaranteed the gank is to work. When things fall into place, of course you should go for them. However, it's very hard to tell when you should skip camps to make it to a play, or when you should just keep farming and ignore things that are going on the map. In early game, camps can do as much as give you a full level by themselves, and even later on, missing out on one camp often means losing a significant portion of a level until a decent way into the game. This is such an issue that even in situations where ganks look incredibly good normally, like here and here, I will still choose to continue doing camps because I don't have enough signals that guarantee the gank, unlike the Zac example. The opportunity cost, it'll just be too high. In general, high variance ganks are terrible early game because you risk falling behind by an unrecoverable amount, and players tend to undervalue their camps early on. However, most people also have the tendency to hold on to that mentality for later on in the game, where it becomes completely incorrect. Let me show you how much experience you get from killing jungle camps. If we look on the League of Legends wiki and scroll down to the camps, you can see that most of them start by giving around 100 experience and slowly scale, up to a cap of around 200 XP at level 9. If we compare this to experience gained for killing an enemy champion and getting assist, what we'll see is really shocking. Kill experience at level 1 is less than half of what you get for taking a jungle camp, but the curve very quickly spirals out of control to drastically favor kills and participating in fights. This is further exacerbated by catch-up experience from kills, which just overall makes things really crazy. You can oftentimes get 1 or 2 levels later on in the game just for assisting in a kill or two, which is not something that a jungle camp can give you. I'm not saying never to farm later in the game, but priorities definitely need to shift as levels go up. It gets more and more important to be there for kills, and more importantly, prevent them. So by default, skipping out on camps just to make it to the plays becomes a very high value later in the game. In this example, I have all of my camps up topside, and while early game I would value doing my wolves here to cycle out my camps to maximize my XP, I shouldn't do that here. Looking at the map, my Karthus is pushing mid, and my Jax and Vex are also topside. Realistically, the only plays they can really make are looking for top tower, mid tier 2, or Rift Herald. In all of these cases, if I'm on jungle camps, the likelihood that something goes horribly wrong is very, very high. My team could get picked off and give away valuable kill experience to the enemy team. So in this situation, if it were happening at level 2, I'd probably just do my camps because they're just worth more than risking my time to potentially prevent a kill this early. But at level 11, that just isn't the case anymore. I skip my wolves before I even know anything is happening, so that I'm just more ready for a potential fight. And lo and behold, I'm now on time to a Rift Herald that definitely had huge impacts for the game. Even after this play, I could go back and farm my camps, but I'm still in the mindset of preventing my teammates' deaths. The only person that can be punished on my team right now is Karthus. Pantheon could ult from bottom and punish him if he's alone. So in order to help mitigate this risk, I'd choose to just sit around mid lane waiting for it. Pantheon could come for Karthus from behind, but he's not. Obviously, once I realize that this is a non-factor due to seeing Pantheon bottom, I'm good to just do whatever will get me gold, which in this case is just taking the enemy Raptors. Learning how to spot what potential plays your opponents can make and posture to potentially shut them down is a huge part of mastering macro. And in almost any game I play, I'm going to be skipping camps later on just to run to potentially prevent my teammates' deaths. You can't always stop your team from inting, but by shifting priorities smoothly as the game goes on to move away from camps and more towards taking fights, you will avoid taking terrible fights early that set you behind, and also not miss out on the ones that will win you the game. Let's talk about the last huge piece of the puzzle, optionality. That word might not mean a whole lot to you yet, but listen into another coaching session I had the other day.
And then just go topside then I assume?
Okay,
And start
so yeah,
moving
let's go to topside, right? And walk to your base gate. And the idea here is that we're not locking ourselves into Krugs yet. I don't know if Krugs right now is the best, because in 10
What do you
seconds
mean,
it
what?
could change. Clearly this is something that I thought was super important, but my student had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. And this isn't a dig at him at all. The vast majority of students I teach just don't learn this concept intuitively through playing, but it's a massive game changer when it comes to making decisions about where to be on the map. You can see that he clicked out of the top of the base, which is definitely the worst place to go right now. But why? Optionality basically just refers to the ability to have choice. By going towards the top of our base, we're only really putting ourselves close to one point on the map, Krugs. If we want to gank mid or go to Raptors, we're just going to be further away than we would really like to be. Compare that to walking from this point, and the distance is much shorter, while also giving us better access to Raptors. The kicker is that there's no downside to just going through our base gate. We could always just take the blast cone and go up towards our Krugs with no time loss at all. So a choice like this only serves to give us more options. In the early game, this usually means pathing towards camps that will put you closer to potential ganks and other camps. Like in this clip here, you can see that I flow nicely from blue to crab, straight to mid lane with essentially zero downtime. This kind of thought process means that I am always considering at least one step ahead. What will I be able to do after my next play? This way I can avoid what I like to call a dead end. If you've ever watched Challenger gameplay, it's going to look seamless, and like one play leads perfectly into the next. Well, this is why. If you look at low elo, there's often a lot of time where junglers will sit around wasting time, and obviously they are worse at picking the best option, but they more often than not just don't have as many options to pick from because of their path. In a game that's constantly changing all the time, options can go from being terrible to amazing within seconds. Think back on the Zac example from earlier. Part of the reason why I didn't go to Krugs in this game was to account for something like this happening. Taking the Krugs would put me further away from protecting my own camps, leaving my mid laner undefended, and ultimately wouldn't give me very many options after killing them anyways. Later on in the game, this still plays a massive role. Choosing to make plays around lanes with objectives and camps surrounding them gives plenty of options to both push your lead and fall back on should the play not work. And ultimately, you can't make good decisions if you just don't have any good options to pick from. Being aware of this can make a lot of seemingly decent choices absolutely awful when you realize that should the one option not work out, there is nothing surrounding it to fall back on. And with that, you've pretty much got most of the pyramid you need in order to get to diamond. These concepts make up the vast majority of macro decisions that you need to make in your games. And while it doesn't cover everything, remember that you just don't need to know everything to find success in this game. With only a few pieces, you're well on your way to the 90% you need. Alright, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skillcapped. We offer a 5-division rank up guarantee and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week with over 2,000 guides curated into over 270 courses. No one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO hell over 1,100 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all your questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted. Link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck and happy climbing.